Hey everybody, I don't know if this is going to be in part 3 or part 4. I'm not sure how much footage I have, if it's enough for part 3 or not. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of work this afternoon on the boat. Had a little bit of time off, and I'm actually going to be working on the first bit of fiberglassing. So I'm excited about that. Basically all I'm going to be doing is kind of patching up all of my holes back here in my transom. And I'm also going to be trying to fill in some of the low spots back there in the skin as well with some CSM, little pieces of CSM. So what I got done over the weekend was pretty much finished up the grinding on the transom. I got about 99% of it done or so. There's still a few areas where I want to rough it up a little bit, but I got most of it done. Basically, all you have to do is you want to make sure it's all ground down really well. And for patching some of these holes back here where the bolts used to be for the engine and the spare motor mount and stuff like that, basically you grind those down, bevel them out a little bit so there's kind of a recess, and then I'm going to put some tape on the other side, on the outside of the boat, to cover up the hole, and then I'm going to rip up a couple different layers, different sizes, starting small and getting a little bit bigger depending on the size of the hole, of course. I'm going to use CSM, and I'll see if I can show you here in a minute, but basically you want to try to rip it and tear it instead of cutting it with scissors. That way you get nice feathered edges and it lays out real nice and flat, and you don't have a hard line around the outside, and it just helps it stick better and look better. And so I'm going to put probably 3 or so layers on each one, maybe a little more depending. And then once that cures up, then I'll go on the outside and I'll remove my tape, and I've already actually ground down the outside a little bit as well, beveled those out, and I'm going to do the same thing to the outside, and so that way it'll be nice and strong, and I'll have a nice even layer of fiberglass all the way across the transom. And then once all that's done, then I'll take a layer of CSM and put it all the way across the transom skin right before I put my wood on, just to make sure it's all sealed up and flat and nice, ready for the wood. So I think that's all I wanted to tell you right now. Like I said, maybe I'll try to get a video in there. I don't really have a good way to put my phone up in there, but we'll see how it goes. Alright, so as you can see, I got the outside of the transom taped up, all the holes ready to go. And the point of this is just so when you're putting fiberglass on it from the inside, the glass and resin doesn't just spill out the backside of the hole, you know. So I didn't cover up the drain plug because I'm going to have to do more grinding, and I like to be able to hose it out, hose out the rest of it. I usually sweep most of the dust up, but hose the excess out. And then, you know, it has to have some place to drain, and I don't know what size drain plug I'm going to put in there yet. So I'm going to leave that one for now, and then these holes up here toward the top, I can't get to the back side of them too good because the splash well is still in there. So and I still got to grind down the back side of that when I cut part of the splash well out so I can put my wood in. But the rest of them are good to go, as well as the few low spots that I'm going to be glassing. So let's go ahead and rip some fiberglass pieces up. So before I go ahead and start ripping on my fiberglass, I'm just going to go ahead and clean the areas down pretty well with acetone, just to make sure they're free of dust, and so the new glass and the new resin sticks really well. Alright guys, so I've got some leftover CSM from some old projects that I'm going to use, and it's actually like tape, I think, almost like CSM tape. It's already cut in these thin pieces, so that'll work pretty perfect for my my holes here. So when you're ripping this fiberglass, you probably want to wear a respirator because sometimes the fibers can get airborne and you don't want to be breathing them in. So I'm going to do that, and then but basically all you have to do is, like I said, you want to try to tear the fiberglass, and you know, if you kind of just tear it away from each other, separate it, it tears, and you get these nice feathered fibers here versus a hard edge, and that lays down real nice when you stick it on there and you coat it out with resin, and you don't have that sharp line there that can potentially get delaminated. This just feathers it out real nice. So you know, if you have a hard edge already that you didn't make, sometimes you can just pick at it and pull some of the fibers off and kind of feather it out a little bit. So that's what I like to do. You don't have to do it, but I like to do it. And so I'm just going to take and probably do, for say like this big hole here that where the engine mounts to, I'm going to take a piece pretty much the same size as the hole, a little bit bigger, and that'll be my first piece, and I'll make sure I stuff it in there real nice, and that's what you want your tape back there for as well, so the fiberglass doesn't just fall out the other side. And then the next layer will be a little bigger, doesn't have to be exact. Let's tear this up a little bit here, feather it out. So that piece is a little bigger, and that's going to go over that. And then I'll do another piece that's bigger, maybe about the size of this Sharpie line here that I have. And depending on the size of the hole and how thick it is, and the hole, you know, the skin, I may go like 3 or 4 layers of this, depending. You know, we'll see. But you just want to make sure you get all your fiberglass ripped out, your pieces, and have them laid out so you know where they are, where they go, so that once you mix up your resin, you're not looking for anything and wasting time, because that stuff will kick on you real hard, especially where I live in Florida. It's probably about 80 degrees right now, and you know, even if I mix it pretty slow, it's still going to kick off fast. I'm only going to have about 20 minutes of working time maybe. So you want to make sure you have everything ready to go before you mix your resin up. So I'm going to go ahead and rip up the rest of my pieces, and we'll mix up some resin. Well guys, kind of ran into some snags with the transom on the boat here, and I think what I got going on is going to work right now, but if you look behind me, it's definitely not how I plan to do this thing, and right or wrong, it's the way I'm going to do it. So I realized, you know, I had said before I was going to try to cut out part of the inside of the splash wall back there so I could come in from the inside and slip the wood in, fish it up under there, and glue it to the skin. Now, I don't know why I didn't realize this before, but the transom's it's so wide, it goes all the way across the back of the boat here, and you know, so number one, it's not going to get past the top of the cap on the gunnels up here on the side of the boat. I'll show you in a second, but it's not going to be able to get past that because it's wider than that. And then if you try to fish it in sideways and turn it around, it just hits the inside of the hull. And number two, down on the insides of the hull, there's kind of like another stringer or support that runs along the side of the hull, and that is also wider than the transom, or narrower than the transom. The transom's wider than that, so it won't go past that. So that wasn't going to work from the start. So my second thought was maybe I can split the cap a little bit. I don't want to take it off all the way. I just feel like that's not going to be a good thing, and I don't really have a way to do that. So, but I was like, well, maybe if I just split it a little bit up here toward the back, then I can ease it up, and it'll create a gap there big enough that I can slip the transom down in there, because the lower is not fiberglass to the upper. That didn't work either. So, as you can see, I cut a big section of the outer skin out, and that didn't work. It got it closer, so I ended up cutting a little piece of the splash well out right there, kind of like I had originally thought. I just had to cut out a hell of a lot more than I thought I was going to. So like I said, right or wrong, you know, I had made the cuts already, and as you can see, I got the wood in there, and I think it's gonna work. You know, I don't know, it's just I wish it was done another way, you know, but I think this is gonna work. I don't think I'm gonna have any problem fiberglassing the this back end right there. Just, you know, put plenty of 1708 and tab it in really good, and then I saved this piece here for the splash well, so I'll bevel the edges out and then come back with some 1708 and tab that back in. And I realized, or I found out actually, that this thing has a piece of plywood laminated and fiberglassed underneath it, but that was not attached to the transom originally, so I'm going to grind that off, take it out. The wood's still good, but I'm going to take it out and reglass it in, and when I reglass it in, I'm going to connect that piece of wood to the transom and tab it all in nice. So that's going to make it even stronger than it was originally right there. So you know, it definitely hurts cutting this into the boat here, and you know, but I just didn't see any other way to do it. So there it is. I almost didn't make this video because you know, like I said, I don't know if it's completely the right way to do this, but it's the way I'm going to do it, and I want to show how I'm doing it. Basically, that's all these videos are for. It's not a tutorial or anything. So yep, I'm going to keep working. Now that I got it to fit, I'm going to go ahead and take this piece out, and I'm going to lay it on my what's left of my sheet of 3/4 plywood and trace it out again, because I'm going to have to sandwich two together. Another reason why this hole had to be so big here. And then I'm probably going to go ahead and glue them up using Titebond 3, the waterproof wood glue. I'm going to clamp those and let them sit up probably overnight, and then I'll start coating them in resin. And then I'm going to go back and do some more glass work on the inside of this and get it ready for gluing my wood. So that's what I'm working on today, and I'll see you in the next clip. Alright guys, so I got my two pieces of wood for my transom cut out, and I'm getting ready to laminate them together. See different things that people use for laminating pieces of plywood together for the transom. PL glue is used a lot, like a construction adhesive. It's what Frisco Boater used, and I've been watching a lot of his videos recently. I'll put a link to his channel in my description. But I decided to use this Liquid Nails construction adhesive, because it was like $2 cheaper than the PL, and it said waterproof and pretty much all the same stuff that the PL glue said. So I bought the big cans and the caulking gun to fit it because it was actually like more cost effective, I think. So I'm gonna put on a real thick layer of that on both of these pieces, and then I'm gonna go over here to the concrete and put it on that flat spot and put all those cinder blocks on there and leave it, and should set up real nice. So I'm also going to use this Bondo squeegee here, Bondo spreader, and I cut these little grooves in it. I saw at Frisco he used like a tile trowel, and it had the little grooves in it, so I guess it's to help spread it around good but leave, you know, air gaps for air to escape or something. I don't know, but I'm gonna do that and just make sure I get a nice even coat on my wood, and so we'll see how it goes.